How are you? How's it going? I've got a little question for you today, actually, which is, do you think that you're broken? Do you think that you are fundamentally, totally, completely and utterly broken? That your anxiety, your inner critic, your upper limit, your survival mode, the way that you respond and react and behave, that's it. That's it for you now, because you are broken. Have you wondered that? I know I've wondered that. I spent a long time thinking that I was broken, and each time that I've had a moment of PTSD relapse, or that I've had the inner critic be so loud that it's made me doubt and wonder whether or not I am completely broken and will be forever. But it's not true. It's not true, and I want to explain why. So if you imagine that you've got your heart, okay, and your heart is completely and utterly perfectly made. There is no mistake. You are you. The essence of you is there. It's exactly as it should be. You have all your likes, your dislikes. You don't know them yet because you're a baby, but they're there. They're hardwired, and they're just waiting and itching for you to find out about them, to get to know yourself, to explore. We are here to explore and expand. We are here to get to know ourselves and enjoy life. Well, enjoy life and learn from all of the experiences that we have along the way. But as children, we have innate human needs and desires that we have to have filled, and those are unconditional love and validation and tools. So we look to our primary caregivers to say, you are worthy of love, you are brilliant, and I love you exactly the way that you are. We look to them to go, okay, but this is how life is tricky, life is difficult. If you're a sensitive soul, you're going to find this experience challenging. So I've learnt these tools along the way, and I'm going to help you navigate it so that you feel strong, that you feel you can navigate this time too, and it feels good and empowered. We also look to them for validation, to say, oh, that's what you're interested in, let's give that a go, or maybe not like this, do it this way. Create curiosity for ourselves, create awareness for ourselves. These are all tools that as children we absolutely needed, fundamentally needed, to navigate our way through this world without having a massive mental health crisis, which I believe is where we find ourselves now. And yet we look to the people who didn't have those tools, through no fault of their own. These are ancestral patterns, and that's why that's such a big topic now, amongst other reasons. But ancestral clearing is basically because we have been doing the best that we can through generations and generations, and it's got to this point now where we now have access to the tools and the techniques and the experiences to show up differently, to create a different legacy. The buck stops with us now. If we, what do you want to create for your children? What do you want to create for yourself? What do you want to create in your community and in your environment? It's up to us to make that change. And yet it's not easy. It's not always easy. And the reason is, so this is the authentic you. You are perfectly, wonderfully, gloriously you. This needs tending to. It needs boundaries. It needs to understand boundaries, because we're growing up in a very wonky society where people are not working in community. They work against each other. There's competitiveness and not collaboration. You know how it works. There's a lot of really wonky thought forms and experiences that show up in our society, and to look after our heart, we need to learn how to navigate this, and not only to look after it, but for it to thrive, it needs a certain set of tools and conditions and support, network and ideas, and love. Absolutely needs love. But this your heart never leaves. It doesn't go anywhere. It recognizes that it's struggling. It's recognizing that it's really finding it difficult to be itself. It looks to your primary caregiver to say, love me as I am. And your primary caregiver goes, unconsciously, I'm doing the very best that I can. And right now, this is all I can offer you. And you say in your unconscious way, oh, there must be something wrong with me then. If you can't give me the way that I need it, then there must be something wrong with me. We don't ever look at our primary caregivers and say, we don't have the ability to have the perspective as children to say, oh, you're not doing so well. And so because you're not doing so well, it means that how you're going to teach me and raise me and be with me also means I'm not going to do so well. So we take it on as a personal experience. We believe it to be completely personal. There's something fundamentally wrong with us for us to not be loved and seen and validated in the way that we need and should have access to. And so what happens is we learn to people please. We learn as really kind beings. That kindness is a superpower, but it gets distorted along the way because you're looking to somebody else and you're trying to be kind, but it's a wonky relationship. And so what happens is you then conform, distort, and become a chameleon of yourself to try and make that other person love you in a way that you want to be loved or need to be loved. And often it ends up that even to your best efforts, it doesn't work out. And that's where the perfectionist virus comes in, that thought form which says, unless I am clearly not perfect, I am clearly broken, and therefore and the only possible reason that I could be not loved right now is that I'm not perfect. And so then we set ourselves these standards and these goals and compare ourselves to these all of the time and always come up short. That's why we have chronic low self-worth and low self-esteem and low feelings for ourselves. And then we pass that on to our children through no fault of our own. We're just doing our best. And what I'm going to propose to you is that actually what happens is your heart needs protecting. It feels vulnerable, and we've set up this kind of relationship with ourselves, which means we have to betray our own heart. And that betrayal at that level means that only one thing, my survival depends on me looking out for myself. And the only way I know as a kid to look after myself is by creating some behaviours that create a box around the heart. And this box can be addiction, it can be anything that numbs or soothes, it can be doing your best to be the busiest person that you can be so that you never encounter your feelings or emotions until one day it stops, or the universe decides it's now your time to come face to face with your feelings. It might be that this is how your inner critic develops, because like we talked about, if you're not perfect, then there's something wrong with you. And so that criticism sets in place. That criticism really shows up at that point, because it's trying to shame you into becoming better and to become perfect, and therefore you become lovable. But it doesn't work like that. It's not how it works. Your heart is not wanting that experience. But we know no different. We don't have the tools in order to be able to show up in any different way. And so we create this box around our hearts. And that's fine. It's absolutely fine. But what I'm suggesting is that we can learn to show up, to understand the contents of how we've created our own box, this protective layer that's keeping us safe, because it does come down to a survival mode. Most of us are living in survival mode. Most of us are believing that this is fueled if we do not keep a controlled set of experiences. So making sure that we are the best that we can be, the most perfect mother, that we have the house neat and tidy, that we are performing at a high level, that, all of the things that go into, or if we don't I mean, looks is another massive thing. If I don't look a certain way, if I don't behave a certain way, if my boobs aren't the right shape, if my bum is too big or too small, then I'm unlovable. And that's what this box is. It's all of these things that we think are out to get us. These critical thoughts are actually trying to keep us safe. But they're outdated now. To a certain point, they've got you to this point, and we want to make friends with them and recognize that they have needs too that haven't been met. That's where the inner child healing comes in. But that we need to upgrade those so that we can allow that authentic part of you to grow, like in the Grinch movie where the heart becomes 3 sizes bigger. Okay, the reason it's not getting 3 sizes bigger at this moment is because the heart is in a box. Now, if you've ever thought, why don't I have access to my feelings or emotions, it's because you've put them in a lock and key in here, and they are there, and you're using some sort of coping mechanism to make sure that you don't have access to it, but you're not accessing it because right now it's under lock and key. And you may be having physical symptoms, you may be having migraines or stress in your shoulders or jaw, or you've got IBS, or you've got some sort of autoimmune condition which is linked to this, or chronic indigestion and heartburn, or ear infections, throat infections, sick a lot of the time. A lot of these things are linked to the fact that we are repressing and suppressing so much to try and keep ourselves safe, that we live in this adrenaline, cortisol-filled survival mode most of the time without even knowing that that's what's happening. And so what I want to suggest to you is that your heart is capable now of slowly unfolding. If you imagine it's like winter, so the box around the heart is like winter. You've gone into hibernation. It's nurturing and looking after the seeds. It's looking after the most precious part, but it's dormant. And what we want to do is say, okay, thank you for being there. I understand how you are trying to keep me safe and what's going on, but now I want to bloom. Now I want my heart to come above the surface, through the snow, feel the sunlight and bloom, expand, spread glitter in every direction. That's more my thing. And your heart wants to know itself. Your essence, the very essence of you wants to know itself. That is the entire reason you're alive right now, is to not only break these ancestral patterns of the box around your heart, but for you to know your innate gifts, for you to know the contents of your heart, for you to absolutely show up completely and totally as you. But it means that you have to know both of these things in order to be able to do that. And that is exactly why I have created the Heartful Academy, which is over 4 months. It's 8 sessions, and we will be talking about this exact thing. How do we identify and work with our inner critic? How do we create a loving and safe environment for ourselves and those that we love? How do we create healthy boundaries? How do we connect into our heart? How do we nurture ourselves? How do we show up and learn to be fully, truly and totally us and love all of it? See, there's no way that we can show up and connect to our hearts if we are continuously thinking that we are broken, because we're not. Because otherwise you're just trying to reinforce this idea that there's something about me that's wrong, that's broken. And you can't fix just the box. It's not a question of being fixed. Your box wants to know itself. It wants to be understood. It has needs. Your inner child, your fears, your anxieties, your worries, they're trying to keep you safe. And so when you can show up and say to yourself, I know how to help you feel safe now. I know how to help you feel calm. I know how to make you feel strong. I know what you need, and I can meet those needs with you, for you, and together everything changes. These ancestral patterns change, you change, your life changes, it all changes, and I am here for that. 100,000,000% here for that. And I think it's the time. It's absolutely the time. We're in spring. We're, the vibration of spring, the essence of Mother Nature bursting through and blooming and wanting to connect with the sunlight to help us grow. It's happening. It's here. It's ready. And your soul, your essence, your heart is wanting the same thing. So if you'd like to find out more, if you'd like to join the container, if you're curious and want to know more, I'm going to put a link in the comments section. Otherwise, just DM me. Let's have a cup of tea. Let's sit together. Let's have a chat about what's going on for you, where you're at, what's coming up, what your unique experience is, what the essence of you is, and what you want for your life. What do you want for your life? Do you know? Let's find out. Last thing, if you haven't listened to the podcast that I recorded yesterday, the VIP one called The Heartful Way, please take a moment to go and have a listen to that. It's a really great episode. I'm sure there will be some insights and downloads for you in that too. In the meantime, have a wonderful day and take care, and lots and lots and lots of love.